What if I told you that a single band didn't just write songs, but built entire universes out of sound? A band that turned the rock concert into a piece of immersive theater and transformed the vinyl record from a collection of singles into a philosophical journey. This wasn't just a band, it was an audiovisual revolution. This is the story of Pink Floyd, the architects of atmosphere, who didn't just play music, they changed the very definition of what it could be. To unlock more untold stories and deep dives into the icons who shaped our world, don't forget to subscribe to Timelines Unlocked for your front row seat to history. Our timeline begins in 1965 at London's Regent Street Polytechnic, where architecture students Roger Waters, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright met a charismatic art student named Syd Barrett. Fusing American blues with experimental, mind-bending soundscapes, they became the house band for London's burgeoning psychedelic underground. At venues like the UFO Club, their shows were legendary sensory experiences, complete with pioneering liquid light shows that swirled around the audience as the band improvised long, chaotic instrumentals. With Barrett's whimsical, childlike lyrics and eccentric vision, their 1967 debut, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, became the definitive soundtrack of The Summer of Love, a masterpiece of English psychedelia. But the creative fire that burned so brightly in Barrett was quickly consumed by his heavy use of LSD and deteriorating mental health. His behavior became erratic and unpredictable, forcing the band to make an impossible choice. They brought in Barrett's friend, a talented guitarist named David Gilmour, initially to support Syd, but soon to replace him. Syd Barrett, the madcap genius who founded the band, was gone, but his ghost would haunt their music forever. Losing their primary songwriter and frontman could have ended them, but instead, it forced Pink Floyd to evolve. The late 60s and early 70s became a period of intense experimentation. They moved away from Syd's pop sensibilities and delved into creating vast, atmospheric soundscapes on albums like A Saucerful of Secrets and the soundtrack for the film More. They perfected their craft with 1971's Metal, featuring the 23-minute epic Echoes. This single track, filling an entire side of vinyl, was a premonition of their future. It wasn't just a song, it was a journey, using sound effects, soaring guitar solos from Gilmour, and cohesive musical themes to create a narrative arc. This era was cemented by their legendary 1972 performance, live at Pompeii, where they played to an audience of 0 in an ancient Roman amphitheater, proving that the spectacle and the environment were as important as the music itself. Then, in 1973, everything changed. Pink Floyd released The Dark Side of the Moon, and the world was never the same. It was more than an album. It was a singular, 43-minute piece of art exploring the pressures of modern life, time, greed, conflict, and madness. Engineered by the brilliant Alan Parsons, it was a masterpiece of studio innovation. They used tape loops to create the rhythmic cash register sounds on Money, and meticulously recorded clocks for Time. The transitions between songs were seamless, creating an unbroken listening experience designed to be absorbed in one sitting. Lyrically, Roger Waters had found his voice, writing with a direct, philosophical clarity that connected with millions. The album became a cultural phenomenon, staying on the Billboard charts for an astounding 981 weeks, or nearly 19 years. It redefined commercial success and proved that an ambitious conceptual album could also be a blockbuster hit. How do you follow up perfection? For Pink Floyd, the answer was to look inward. Their next album, Wish You Were Here, 1975, was a melancholic meditation on absence, fame, and the very industry that was now celebrating them. The album is bookended by Shine On You Crazy Diamond, a sprawling 9-part tribute to their fallen founder, Syd Barrett. In a moment of haunting serendipity, a vacant, overweight man with a shaved head, wandered into the studio during the recording sessions. It was Syd. The band was devastated, and that profound sense of loss fueled the album's emotional core. This was followed by 1977's Animals, a bleak, cynical, and aggressive concept album inspired by George Orwell's Animal Farm. Waters, now the band's dominant lyrical force, used the album to launch a scathing critique of capitalism and social classes, sorting society into vicious dogs, tyrannical pigs, and mindless sheep. The album's iconic cover, featuring a giant inflatable pig floating over London's Battersea Power Station, became one of the most recognizable images in rock history. The band's ambition and Waters' control culminated in 1979 with The Wall. This was not just an album, but a rock opera, a film, and one of the most elaborate stage shows ever conceived. A deeply personal project for Waters, it told the story of a rock star named Pink who, scarred by childhood trauma and the alienating nature of fame, builds a metaphorical wall around himself. The album produced the band's only #1 single, the defiant anthem Another Brick in the Wall, Part 2, and the iconic guitar epic Comfortably Numb. The live show was a true spectacle. A massive wall was literally built on stage throughout the performance, brick by brick, until the band was completely obscured. Projections of Gerald Scarfe's terrifying animations and giant, grotesque puppets loomed over the audience. The show's climax saw the wall dramatically torn down. Pink Floyd had redefined the rock concert, turning it from a musical performance into a multi-million-dollar theatrical production that influenced every major arena act that followed. But this monumental success came at a steep price. The internal dynamics of the band were shattered. The creation of The Wall had solidified Roger Waters' autocratic control, alienating the other members, especially Gilmour. The 1983 album, The Final Cut, was a Pink Floyd album, in name only. In reality, it was a Roger Waters solo record, with Gilmour and Mason serving as little more than session musicians. The tensions boiled over, and in 1985, Waters officially left the band, declaring it a spent creative force. A bitter legal battle for the Pink Floyd name ensued, which Waters lost. Gilmour and Mason decided to carry on, bringing Richard Wright back into the fold. They released A Momentary Lapse of Reason in 1987, followed by The Division Bell in 1994, and supported them with record-breaking world tours that proved the Pink Floyd name was bigger than any one member. These shows continued to push the boundaries of live technology with massive circular screens, state-of-the-art lasers, and pristine sound, carrying the band's legacy into a new generation. For nearly 2 decades, the classic lineup remained fractured. Then, in 2005, the impossible happened. For the Live 8 charity concert in London, Roger Waters, David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright walked onto a stage together one last time. For a brief, magical 20-minute set, the fighting was forgotten, and the world witnessed the power and grace of their shared chemistry. It was a beautiful, poignant farewell. Richard Wright's death in 2008 and Syd Barrett's passing in 2006 made any future reunion impossible, closing the book on one of music's most legendary chapters. Pink Floyd's influence is immeasurable. They pioneered the concept album, transforming it into a high art form. They turned the live show into a cinematic, multisensory experience. They pushed studio technology to its absolute limits, treating the recording studio itself as an instrument. But most importantly, they brought complex adult themes into the mainstream, tackling madness, mortality, war, and isolation with a depth and seriousness that few rock bands dared to attempt. They created music that wasn't just for listening, but for thinking, feeling, and getting lost in. They didn't just write songs, they built worlds. So, I have to ask you, which Pink Floyd album defines their legacy for you? Is it the psychedelic brilliance of Piper, the cosmic journey of Darkside, or the theatrical anguish of The Wall? Let me know your pick in the comments below. And if this journey through time resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to Timelines Unlocked so you never miss another story.